taking a daily look at the biggest stories in Denver sports and interacting live with you, the Coffee Break fam. So sit back, relax, grab a cup of joe, and enjoy your coffee break. Here's your host, Rachel Vigil.
Well, as any solo session would start, it starts with me scrolling on my phone to see what everybody's talking about. And indeed, a lot of us are talking about the Rockies, who just released their schedule. And boy, oh boy, did the Rockies do what the Rockies do. It's called Draw Up Your Plans for 2025. So they had different people literally draw the Rockies or different logos for teams. Interesting. Okay, well, happy Thursday, everybody. Also, it's my mom's birthday today, so we need to make sure that we send her some love. I'm really excited going to take her out to dinner tonight. But we're hitting on the Broncos today because training camp is right around the corner. I'm already so excited for it. Barbecue for the media on Tuesday. We will be bringing you guys all the content. I feel like that was the first video I ever did that really blew up because everybody was like, wait, the Denver Broncos fed you lunch? And I was like, yes, the Denver Broncos fed me lunch. Like, how is that even real life? Really good. Usually we talk to George Payton. He comes out. Sean Payton, my guest, would come out. The past couple of years, Russell Wilson came out. Obviously, that's not going to happen this year. So I'd be curious if any of the quarterbacks would come out. Probably not, because we don't know who the starter is going to be between Bo Nix, Jared Stidham, and Zach Wilson. So probably just the two main men in attendance. Greg Penner, he always tends to show his face too, which is really respectable. But I feel like the big conversation right now is obviously we know that Quinn Meinerz got his $80 million paycheck. $20 million a day ties him for third most expensive offensive line in the league, which is pretty dang cool. Quinn Meinerz has obviously really impressed a lot of people. He had a solid Pro Football Focus grade, 83, I believe was what it was. So overall, really good, really deserving. We have to shout out Andrew Mason and Cecil Lammy because they nailed it on the head. They had done a pre-recorded episode back in June where they said, you need to go pay Quinn Meinerz because if you don't, and he has a really solid year, you're going to end up having to pay him $21, $22, $23, $24 million a year. And they got it right. They pay him $20 million. I feel like we've just seen a ton of growth over and over and over again from Quinn Meinerz, so I'm excited to see what this next level is. Now, obviously, he's still on his rookie contract, so we have another year where he's cheap, but then the following year is when things get a little bit more expensive. I can't imagine having to play on your rookie contract for another year, knowing that you're going to be making all of this money next year. I'd be like, can we just make it there now? That would be so tough considering how much money they actually all really do make. But there's obviously a few other positions that are coming out of that draft class now, which was the 2021 draft class. You had Pat Surtain. Obviously, that contract is going to be coming sooner rather than later. I'm surprised that one didn't get done before Quinn Meinerz, but Pat Surtain is a no-brainer. Of course, he's going to be next when it comes to the contract extension. Will it happen this year? Is it going to happen next year? I feel like if you're Pat Surtain, you really wanted to just get done this year. If you are, don't hate me for this, Broncos country. Do not hate me for this. But if they would look to trade Pat Surtain, which I know they always say they don't want to, but I feel like if there was a buyer good enough, then it'd be interesting to see kind of how that contract would have to play out. So I don't know if you're a Bronco, if you're pushing for it, because I still do truthfully believe that at some point we could see a Patrick Surtain trade. He's just too solid of a player, and that sounds silly, but Pat Surtain literally is the best player on this Denver Broncos team. And because of that, he has the most value. And this Broncos team, they're not a championship team. So you don't really need the best player. I mean, he's literally one of the best players in the league. I could see some team being really close to winning a championship and just calling him being like, what are you willing to do for Pat Surtain? And the conversation starts. Now, of course, it seems like we've seen those type of conversations in the past, but the Broncos really don't want to do that. So we'll see how many times they dodge the bullet on that one. But I feel like Pat Surtain contract extension definitely coming very soon. Now, the number 35 pick in the 2021 NFL draft was Javonte Williams. And this is such an interesting conversation to be had because we looked at his stats. We've talked a lot about Javonte Williams. We did a solo session. I don't remember what day it was, but it was earlier this week. And we talked about the difference between Javonte Williams and where he was when everybody was talking about him and how he was this bulldozer of a player. And let's just throw up those stats real quick. Okay, rush yards over expected plus 91. Yards after contact and carry was 3.9. And I feel like this was really where Javonte Williams started to shine. It was all of those clips on angry runs where he was just carrying all of these players. Almost 1,000-yard season. He played in all 17 games that season. He was a stud. The 4 touchdowns, the 2 fumbles. And then we go back to last year. It was his first year back after a grade 3 and ACL tear in his knee, obviously. 774 yards, 3.6 average, 3 touchdowns, 0 fumbles, 217 carries. So we saw Javonte Williams obviously be a stud when everybody was talking about him. We were all so pumped on the idea of Javonte Williams. And now it just seems like Javonte Williams isn't 100% there. Now, Sean Payton has talked a lot about the fact that it's year 2. That's when guys really start to get back into it. That's when coaches expect them to kind of go back out there, be able to ball a little bit more. And I think that's interesting because as fans and as media, I think when you return from injury, we kind of expect you to jump right back into it. Maybe not to the full extent that you were, but we're like, okay, let's see this again. But for coaches and for players, it seems like year 2 is that mark where it says, all right, we've survived another year back. Let's really push this mental game and see where we can get back to. Will a contract extension be coming for Javonte Williams? It's a good question. And I think Javonte Williams himself knows that right now they're not going to offer him anything. There's too many other running backs on this roster who could go out there and do what Javonte Williams does. It leads back to the question of, well, are the Broncos going to cut Javonte Williams? Probably not. Not in my eyes. I know some people are talking about that rumor, but I don't think that he's going to get cut. I think he will be the starter out there week 1. I think it'll be him and Jaleel McLaughlin. Samaje Perine, in my eyes, has the biggest thing to lose. But Javonte, I believe, will be out there week 1, but with no contract extension. I think he knows that this is the year he has to shine. Same with Courtland Sutton. You know, Courtland Sutton's not a part of this 2021 draft class, but Courtland Sutton has the exact same thing. You have to show up this year. You have to do your job extremely, extremely well. And if that happens, then you'll get the contract extension. Javonte Williams, I think he knows he's in the exact same boat. He's just got to be able to go out there and prove that he can be the back that he once was. He can do those yards after carry. He can get back to all of these numbers. I mean, the stats that you see, this is only through week 12 too. Next Gen Stats, I love you. I appreciate you. You always do a good job of putting together fantastic stats. But 20-plus mile-per-hour carries, he had 3 of them. His 15-plus mile-per-hour carry rate was 5th. Like, he was a stud. He was moving a ton around. But guess what? It's no longer his job to be the Lightning. He's the Thunder. He's just got to be the guy that can get out there and he can pound it over and over again. Samaje Perine, he might be able to do it better than Javonte. That's one of the big concerns about it. Yeah, he can go out there. He can get you those 2-3 yards. He can just absolutely go in there and be fighting 100%. But Jaleel McLaughlin's your Lightning. So he needs to be that guy now that can get those really big bursts and go out there. I mean, if Javonte can bounce back and be that guy again, there's no way they're not going to offer him a contract extension. But he'd have to be able to be fast. He'd have to be able to be quick. But he also has to be that Thunder that can carry those guys again. If you are just that get beat up every single time guy, your lifespan in the NFL is so short because it's so brutal for running backs. Like, you have to be a Christian McCaffrey where he is that Thunder. He can take on as many guys as you need him to, but when you need him to, he can be so speedy, dang quick too. And that's why Christian McCaffrey is such like a gold star in the NFL. Javonte Williams was so close to being that gold star. Everybody was talking about him. So I don't think we're going to see a contract extension for Javonte Williams anytime soon. Let's see. Thank you guys for the comments. Keep them coming. What about the rookie from Notre Dame running back? Are you talking about Blake Watson? If so, actually, we just found out news on Blake Watson that he is on a non-football injury list right now. He went on the list on July 17th, so yesterday. So I don't know if that means that we're not going to see him for the start of training camp. That would be probably the situation because essentially the way that it would, like they phrased it on the timing was, okay, you are going on the list on the 17th. If he was going to be back for training camp, they wouldn't have even bothered because they're still in the off season. So otherwise, I think that they're just going to have him be coming back at some point during training camp. I just don't know when because we don't know what the non-injury related football situation is. So that's always hard. I was going to say Estime is supposed to be back for training camp, so that's going to be the first time that we're going to see him. Audric Estime is from, Notre Dame. We are supposed to see him on the first week of training camp. He's supposed to be back. He got that PRP injection into his knee, so he'll be back for then. I'm trying to think of other people in the running back rooms. Majid Pirine should be out there. Who's the fullback? Michael Burton. He's looked like a stud. He looked like he gained a few pounds, which is pretty nice. So it'll be interesting to see kind of what role he can play. If he'll be more of a ball carrier or if he's just going to be pass protection, we will see. I'm trying to think of who else is in the running back room that I'm blanking on right now because there's just a ton of them. I think I've gotten everyone, but that Blake Watson news was the new one. And then, Audric Estime is from Notre Dame, and we should see him back out there for training camp. So he should be here sooner rather than later, which will be really exciting for sure. Let's go back, though, to this 2021 list because, oh, man. So number 98 was Meinerz, but then we go to Baron Browning, Caden Sterns, and Jonathon Cooper, who are still on the list. So let's talk a little bit about the linebackers because there's definitely going to be some interesting conversations to be had when it came to some of the linebackers this year for contract extensions. Can Baron Browning get a contract extension? I feel like we were all really high on Baron Browning as well. Like that was one of the main conversation points. A few years back, we were all like super high on him. He was starting to make all of these highlight type plays. And then I believe he got hurt, but I just don't remember what his injury was. It's not coming across my brain right now. But we were all like, another one. Here again, Jonathon Cooper, exact same thing. So what does this mean? Let's just look at the depth chart really quick. So you obviously have outside linebacker, left outside linebacker, Browning, Benito, Perkins. Browning and Benito, that's where we're really going to dive into it because Baron Browning is going to have to fight for his dang job in my eyes. Then we've got inside linebacker. We've got Barton, Sanders. Don't mind that typo right there. And Strnad. Inside linebacker again, Singleton, Griffith, and Smith. And then you got Cooper, Ellis, and Incoom. I don't even know who Incoom is. I saw that on the depth chart and I was like, how did I miss this? I don't know who he is. There was a whole lot of stuff and I was just so confused. I'm like, I've never even heard of this guy's name, never seen him out there. So it must be a Sean Payton guy that's coming off of the practice squad. They bought in the whole type of thing. But I bring up the Baron Browning and Nick Benito stuff because obviously Baron Browning has a lot to go for this year. He is fighting for a contract extension, but Nick Benito is coming in right after him. And when we look at their stats from last year, and we've got Jonathon Cooper in here as well. You got 10 games for Baron Browning. You got that 25 total, 19 solo tackles, 4.5 sacks. And you got Nick Benito, played 5 more games, 30 total tackles, 23 solo, and 8 sacks. Jonathon Cooper, 17 games played, 72 total tackles, 72 total, 44 solo, and 8.5 sacks as well. Okay, so I feel like the most interesting part here is obviously Baron Browning did not play as much. Like that's obviously super easy. But if he had come in and played those 5 games, would he have put up the same amount of stats as Nick Benito? Because that's where Baron Browning is at a disadvantage here. There is a young gun who is able to come in here as well, and he can play your exact spot, and he's clearly playing it really well. You guys are pretty much neck and neck when it comes to that line. So if Jonathon Cooper, if Baron Browning doesn't look any better than Nick Benito, then they're going to say, hey, Baron Browning, really fun having you, but Nick Benito can come in. He can be the starter, and we can start looking at some other rookies to come in and fill in a little bit of the depth charts. Now, of course, they could also offer him kind of a bare minimum contract type ideal if there's not other teams that are interested in him. But essentially, Baron Browning has to come out here and have a bonkers year. If he does that, I think they do re-sign him. That way they've got the depth with Nick Benito as well. I would actually be really curious to ask Andrew Mason because he would probably know better than I would if Jonathon Cooper is going to be one of those guys that they bring back because sometimes there can be a lot of conversations when it comes to that. Now, when you look at the depth charts, I feel like, of course, it somewhat makes sense because we don't know if Jonah Ellis is going to be back out there, how he's going to look in his rookie year, how many playing minutes is he going to get in. But I think ultimately, too, is one of the reasons they brought him in was because Drew Sanders went down, and we didn't all know that ahead of the draft. They might have gone in a completely different direction if Drew Sanders had not gotten hurt. They could have gone for another wide receiver or somebody, or Troy Franklin, they would have maybe just gone for because they didn't know if they were going to get him when they actually did. And thank goodness they did, because I think he's going to be really fun. But it's one of those things where Jonathon Cooper is the one where I feel like it can be a coin flip on if they decide to keep him or not, and how many minutes we actually see out of Jonah Ellis. That will be one of those things I'm kind of paying attention to in camp, is how he looks. But I also just feel like we're not really going to see him a whole lot this year unless there's some garbage minutes. Or, of course, if somebody goes hurt, then that opens up a whole different conversation. But Jonah Ellis will be one of those ones that it'll be just a little interesting to kind of see how he's looking out there. Obviously, rookie coming in. You got guys that are on their final year of their rookie deals. How do they compare? I mean, it's the same thing that we're seeing with the quarterback conversation. How is Bo Nix looking to Jarrett Stidham? Does he look just as good? If he does, perfect. You're throwing him out there week one. If Jarrett Stidham has a clear upper hand on him, then you're going to see Jarrett Stidham out there, because Bo Nix just isn't quite ready. What we've seen so far out of OTAs and minicamp, the quarterback competition is neck and neck. Same with, I feel like, the wide receiver room, the running back room, the linebacker room. There's all of these questions that it's just like, well, who's going to end up on top? It's going to be a dogfight each and every single day out there at training camp, because these guys quite literally are fighting for their jobs in the NFL. And it's not like they're fighting for, just to stay on the Broncos. Like, the Broncos right now are close to the bottom in the NFL. Of course, you can always get a fresh start with another team, but I don't see a lot of teams picking up the phone trying to land some of these guys to say, hey, Jonathon Cooper could look really good in a Bills uniform or Ravens uniform. I don't see those type of calls coming. So a lot of these guys are fighting for their job 100% this year, which will make it really fun for all of us, of course. And training camp will be really interesting. Besides quarterback competition, Javonte Williams in the running back room, I think is going to be really interesting. But I am most excited probably for the linebacker room to see, can Nick Bonito really step up this year? Who's going to end up being the starter come Seattle? Baron Browning, obviously, we want to see him have some success. He's just like Javonte Williams, where it was like, yes, we finally have this guy. He's the highlight type guy. We're going to have so much fun talking about him. Injury strikes, boom, really frustrating. So that'll be kind of one of the more interesting storylines to follow this time around for training camp, which I cannot believe is here, you guys. It's hard to believe. Okay. I want to see, let's see. Browning has to be healthy a complete season to get a contract in my eyes. Kathy, you are 100% correct. And I'm trying to think, what was his injury last year? I don't know why it's blanking me right now. Was it collarbone? Was it shoulder? I don't remember. It's totally blanking my mind, but he has to stay healthy. I mean, he hasn't been healthy in a long, long time. For a lot of these guys, that's kind of the case, though. You just got to stay healthy. You got to go out there and prove every single day that you are able to do it. And again, Nick Bonito is coming for her Baron Browning's job. He had the good stats. He's that dog-like mentality, like the DAWG type dog that I'm talking about. He's got a fire in him. I feel like people really doubted him, because when he came out of college, we were all like, okay, this is going to be the guy. He's going to go out there. And I feel like it's been a different conversation on what that actually looked like. So he's got a little bit of fight in his eye. So yeah, Baron Browning's going to have to stay healthy, but he's also going to have to play some dang good football. It'll be interesting to see how they kind of go about the depth chart. And again, just who wins training camp. That's why you do it. A lot of these guys know they're going to be the starters, but if you take a day off, you take a week off because you're just like assuming, some of these young guys can come in and steal your job. So we will see. But you guys, that's going to do it. Solo session. Tomorrow, in case you missed it on Denver Sports Daily, tomorrow we have a really fun show. Jake Shapiro is headed to the Paris Olympics. I have probably 1,000,001 questions for him, which I feel like a lot of people have 1,000,001 questions about. How do you actually get to go to the Olympics? How much are tickets to go to the Olympics? Do you get to pick whatever events that you want to see? Do you get to, do you have assigned seats? Is it first come, first serve? How do the Olympics work? I have so many conversations. Do you get to walk around like the Olympic Village? Is that a possibility? I'm really interested to find out all of these things. And of course, I'm excited to see what he's doing. I just got a text and I'm trying to see. Let's see. Oh, there is a new Cortland Sutton trade rumor going on. So here we go. The Broncos get tight end Donald Parham Jr. from Los Angeles and a 2025 third-round pick. The Chargers get Brandon Ayuk, and the 49ers get Cortland Sutton and a 2025 second-round pick from Los Angeles. It's not a bad deal. Cortland Sutton goes to the 49ers, and the Broncos get a new tight end from Los Angeles and a 2025 third-round draft pick. So all you're giving up is Cortland Sutton. Depends on how much you believe Tim Patrick. How much do you believe in Tim Patrick? That would be the main question. Plus, Lucas Kroll looks like he's going to be a stud. So unless you don't think he's going to be a stud, I don't know why you would need to bring in another massive tight end. Granted, Greg Dulcich is never going to make it work. That's for sure. Like, poor guy. I feel so bad for him. He's so injury prone. I just don't know if it's ever going to happen for him, which is a major bummer because I feel like everyone was so high on him. But yeah, I don't think Greg Dulcich, I mean, I think he'll play another game. I don't think he'll ever play a full season in the NFL, which is a huge bummer. So Broncos get another tight end, and all you have to do is trade Cortland Sutton. Let me know if you would do that deal. I'm very curious. Not a bad one at all in my eyes. Okay, that is going to do it. Olympics coverage tomorrow. We're talking all about it. I want all the small, little, minute details. And then we'll also be back for Denver Sports Daily at 10 a.m. right here on all of the Denver Sports social channels. So I hope you guys have a wonderful, wonderful day. I'm going to go, get ready, research a little bit about the Olympics. And then I'm taking my mom out to dinner tonight for her birthday. So love you guys so much, and we'll see you later.